Hello and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We are here again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And obviously, we're talking about the TNA Slammiversary events. A couple of odd things that kind of went down that I was kind of, uh, you know, on the fence about, I guess, was them not announcing when Bound for Glory is. So there's that. Still, that's up in the air, which, really should have been announced at this show. I don't know why it wasn't. Um, overall, I don't want to say too much bad stuff because there wasn't much bad stuff on this show at all. The whole show was very solid, and I will go through everything individually as we go along here in discussion of the show, from the opening matches and whatnot to the very end. But it's one of those sayings in wrestling and whatnot. It's not how you get them, it's how you leave them. And kind of feel like the way they left us was a bit of a head scratcher. I really don't know what the heck is going on, what the plans were, what the plans are, why the plans are that, and all of that. My hands are up in the obviously I don't know because I'm not in the creative or whatever, but when you're looking at something from the outside perspective, and I guess sometimes you need that little first step of like, okay, well, this is where this is going, um, you know, to get that to be like, oh, okay, this is where that's going, this is what we're trying to go towards, you know, like you have an idea and a direction in which you're deciding to go, and like you can almost tell where they're going, like just by some, little pieces of a story. Okay, well, even if this isn't the end, culmination of this story or of this angle or of this thing, you can tell, well, this is the next chapter in that story. You know, um, I don't know whether I should keep talking about the end of the main event and whatnot here, but I guess, I'm already talking about it and I kind of want to talk about it. I don't know, dude. I think that was stuffed up, honestly. I don't think that was well thought out. Um I don't know why they decided to do it this way. Um, like maybe like we'll turn around in a couple of days or something, and they'll have changed what they're doing. But like I would have been perfectly fine with Moose retaining. That would have been fine with me. I wouldn't have complained about that. Um, I would have been perfectly fine. Um, with the title changing hands as well, I guess, as long as it made sense. Like you're gonna turn Josh Alexander heel in this match, which is what they did. Um, Now why isn't he winning? Like you've just made this major angle for this guy, and now he's not going to win. Okay, well, all right, sure, I guess that's kind of a bit shit. But also, you've just eliminated Joe Hendry, who's the most organically over person on the whole roster. Okay, I can be fine with that still too. But like, I don't know what the decision making was behind putting the title and what the future is like. Again, maybe we'll find out. But again, it just seems like from a perspective of like why is Nick Nemeth the champion? Like no clue other than he's the ex WWE guy. And I don't think that that's the right call to have made, honestly. I would have been fine with Kazarian winning this match as well, but they didn't decide to go in that direction, I guess. So, I think most of the matches and whatnot went the way that I had, initially thought and whatnot. So, I did get surprised by some of it and that, and certainly a couple of them, certainly the main event as well. So, it's one of those things. I guess I don't. We don't have to talk too much about the main event at the end here, since I've already been talking about it for a bit. But I don't know. I don't know. There's still so much to kind of cover. Um, you know, I don't know. Maybe we will cover it slightly at the end. I was a little bit disappointed by the amount of surprises or whatever or anything like that. Earl Hebner was nice. I think that was actually a nice moment. Um, and whatnot. I think that was cool. I think maybe if there's something over this weekend and whatnot, then maybe it'll redeem it a little bit. But this is the big show. This is the thing that people paid money to see. And actually, I accidentally had to pay for it twice because my connection cut out. So maybe that's another reason why I'm a little bit peeved, because I had to pay for it twice. So I had to just go on Fight because I couldn't, or Triller, because I couldn't find the stream after it had gone down. So yeah, but whatever. It is what it is. We will continue on. It doesn't ruin my enjoyment of it or anything like that. That's what I want people to take away from this, I guess. It's just one of those things that you just look at it and you go, what were you thinking? Like, what was the thought behind this? Why was this? If you're gonna get, a heel turn of Josh Alexander in this and do that, which is something pretty darn big, then what the heck is going on? Like, I don't know, dude. Like, the decision making here was a little questionable, to say the least. One thing that was changed that I don't think we weren't able to cover it because it was like last minute was Jonathan Gresham wasn't able to attend the event for his match against Kushida. Kushida ended up facing Rich Swann and ended up beating Rich Swann. So yeah, sure, whatever, fine, cool. I don't think that this is at all over between Kushida and Gresham, so it's a little shit that they didn't get their moment, even though it was on the pre-show, and I think it should have been on the main show. It still should have helped, capitalize their feud and continue their feud, or whatever ended, or whatever, all of that. Although it looked like maybe Kushida was going to win at this rate, but still, I don't know. Even though that wasn't the first match, or was it the first match now? I think they changed things around a bit. But whatever. That's fine. Knockouts titles, yeah. Alicia and the Militia retained. Perfectly fine with that. The only problem I have is with the division, the tag division, or the women's tag division as a whole. They just don't have any women, and the same with the Knockouts division. We'll talk about that a bit more later. Tasha Steelz won the Fatal 4-Way, which had me scratching my head, but sure, whatever. That's inoffensive. Like, I don't know what that does, or how that does anything, or where that's going, or whatever. Again, it's just, I don't know. Like when you're looking at these things, you're thinking like, okay, well, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? And whatnot. Why was this? Whatnot. Matt and Dirty Django, with Matt winning, that's 100% fine. I think that was kind of cool and whatnot. Though I think it should have been like a lot more violent in a lot of ways. Like this was like this guy's, you beat up my wife, you beat up my family, you beat up my brother, like what the heck, like what is this, like but whatever. Still very fine. Santana versus Jake something, with Santana winning 100%. That's cool. Did not find any problem with this. Rascals, and I was sort of saying about this before, but like this didn't belong on the main card still. Like it was a fine match, I guess. It's about it. Like it didn't really have anything behind it. And they didn't make reference or do a really big video package about the stuff that happened behind the scenes and whatnot. So, or they didn't really mention that stuff. So it didn't really come into play here. So that's just like dropping the ball on that stuff, really. Rascals versus the NXT crew. I still don't know what their freaking full name is, though they said a acronym finally for the team name, though I can't. I think it was NQCC. So yeah, there we go. That'll do, won't it? I guess that's way better because at least it's a acronym now. But yeah, Rascals defeating the crew there. That's sending the crowd home happy type thing. That's great. They actually did a lot of stuff like that tonight. And this one I didn't agree with. I didn't agree with ABC kind of beating the system, but mainly because I guess like it's like you're starting to go, well, where are they going? What are they doing? Why are they winning these titles? You felt like these guys were going to break up. Now they've got the titles. Now what are you going to do with them? They haven't really got that many teams, honestly, to face and to feud with. So, like, I know that the system doesn't have that many teams to fight or to face, but still, like, there's a reason to keep the titles on them. You can basically stick them against any two people and, continue this thing on. It writes itself effectively. It doesn't need a whole lot behind it. I don't know. I don't see the real reason to have the ABC win these titles. It doesn't make much sense to me. I don't find it bad though. I think this is fine. Like I think this is a send the crowd home happy type thing. I don't know. It's really strange in some ways. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. PCO versus AJ Francis, like AJ's only held that belt for like 30 days or whatever it's been, so hardly any time at all. Like I felt like they kind of shouldn't have put the digital media title on the line here. I don't think. I think that they should have just had it be the North American title on the line because that's kind of what the story I think should have been about. It should have been about the title that PCO never won. The title that he, coveted as a young kid, as a, wrestling fan, and, all of that. It should have been all about that, like it should have, had more to do with that, I guess. I don't know. But I don't know what you're going to do with it. I think like the PCO storyline with Steph DeLand is kind of interesting. And I guess it's not over yet. But again, it's like, well, you're going to take the title straight off of him. Like that's the same thing like with saying like, well, you're going to take the title straight off some of the people that, just won their title. Like a lot of times it's no, you're not going to take the title off of them. But anyway, there was only two other title changes here, I guess. Technically speaking, but still, we did actually talk about the last one, I guess. Jordan Grace versus Ash by Elegance. They had a great match out there, actually. I was quite impressed with Ash's work and Ash's match there. I think that it's probably just because she hasn't really had that many great, like, amazing opponents, and she hasn't had that much TV time to kind of do what she really needs to do to establish herself as one of those top ladies. it didn't make her look like she, like she's been looking, I guess. Not the best way to put it, but it made her look legit, I guess. Like, it actually made her look like she could hang with the Juggernaut by hanging with the Juggernaut, like, and she put on a good show out there, and like, I'm more invested in her now than what I was, going in. Like, now I'm actually like, okay, now I can have seen what you can actually do, and I never saw anything that she could do in NXT, and I don't think she ever got the opportunity to show what she could do in NXT. But now she's like, that's good, because it's like, now you can see what she really has to offer, not just, the fact that she gets a 5-minute match on or whatever on, weekly TV. That's basically a squash. Anyway, move on to the next one. Mustafa Ali versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Oh boy, I think this was the match of the night. Probably, besides maybe the main event. Although I think the way the main event was structured, I guess that's my problem with the main event, and I'll talk about it more in a little bit, just to cap it off here. No, this was a great match. Very feel good moment. Like, I was seeing a few people saying that this probably should be the main event. It's been a great story. I do think that the start of the match was a little bit off, because it felt like, well, this is very personal, and whatnot. It didn't really start hot enough for me in the way that I think the story's kind of been built. But overall, like, I don't think this is a 5-star match or whatever. But like, I don't think people should care about getting 5-star matches or whatever. But I do think that when you put on a great match like this, or really good match like this or whatever, there is that problem of people being like, oh, it didn't get 5 stars, so it's not worth watching or whatever. That's the wrong attitude to have. Or if somebody says, oh, it wasn't 5 stars or whatever, no, that's not how you should look at it. If you look at it and go, oh man, this was a really solid match, this was 4 stars or whatever, rated by somebody or whatever, or whatever. If somebody says, oh, it wasn't 6 stars or whatever, like, what? Get out of it. Don't worry about it, whether it was 5 stars or whatever, barely or whatever, barely away from that, like, or 6 or whatever. So again, don't worry about that. Like, this was a great match. I think, like, yeah, the tag match, the ABC and system match, that was a really good match, and this one was a good match. Even the main event was a good match, but I think, just in closing, I'll say that the way that they put this together felt like really silly. And I feel like, what are the plans here? Like, okay, like, if you're going to tell a story between Josh Alexander and Joe Hendry, going forward, like, that's got to culminate before Bound for Glory. I think that's just my opinion. And again, that's where I'm thinking, like, Bound for Glory, like, that's probably why they haven't revealed where it is, which is one big head scratcher, is being like, oh, well, if they reveal where it is, it's going to be like, oh, it's in, the UK, in Wales or wherever, or something like that. It's going to be like, oh, so this is the plan, like, they don't want to make it too obvious, like, what the plan is, but then again, they want people to be like thinking in the back of their mind, oh, this is what's happening, or whatever, like, they want to plant some seed in your mind to think, oh man, could they, they're actually trying to give us something, here and whatnot. I think, I don't know what to say about it, and I just don't think the show felt complete at all. I actually forgot a match that was a special match that they put on, that wasn't advertised, which was Eric Young. This was on the pre-show, versus the returning Hammerstone, which yeah, no, that's cool. I'm glad Hammerstone's back. You know, been injured for a while. So yeah, I'm now looking, hoping, crossing fingers because like Jordan won. So now I'm like, okay, well, can we go and find her some actual challengers? Like we're gonna get some like because there's not hardly anyone in that division that she hasn't beat. So it's like, well, she needs more challengers to beat. And that's the problem. It's just like you're saying you're gonna give Tasha Steelz a win. Like what for? She never wins against Jordan. Like, so what's that? But yeah, initially at the end, I was literally saying "f you" to this with this show. Like that's how it kind of made me felt. Like I don't know. I perhaps a jumping reaction to the show, but like when that's somebody's reaction, like you've done something wrong. I feel like you've really put people off of this show. And again, it's like not how you get them; it's how you leave them. Because you got to get people to be like, "Man, I want to buy the next one." Like I wanted to watch this and see what happened. Absolutely, and I'll still be watching, I guess. So, just because I'm a curious little kitty, and I don't want to watch really anything else in wrestling and that. So, but I just think, man, like, what were these guys thinking? Like, honestly, like, I get that they might have had some plans and whatnot, but they changed some of those plans. But the thing is, you should always change your plans. Like, I don't know. I don't think that this was like what people thought would happen. Um, and sometimes, giving the people a swerve, not that this was a swerve, but something unexpected or whatever, something else, something different than what they thought they would get is useful. But I don't think that that's what was felt here. Um, like again, like if you had have had a logical reason and a logical building blocks of okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna turn, Josh heel, and then he's gonna win the title. Okay, cool. Now we know where things are going. It's very clear and very obvious where things are going. It's between now the Josh Alexander and between Joe Hendry. That's the direction. Like that's what I always look for when you're like looking at these things. When you're looking at like Namath as champion, where the heck are you going with that? Like I don't see anything in that. Like really and honestly, I don't see anything that's in that. People like I've said this before, in what they're trying to do with like bringing in this ex WWE personality and whatnot, or these ex WWE personalities and whatnot. That's fine to bring them in and to do stuff with them and to treat them like they're a big deal and to build them up as if they're a big deal in some way and in some fashion. That's fine, but that's the work that you've got to do. And I just don't think that Nemeth has gotten that in the few months that he's been there. He hasn't. He has been treated fairly well, but people weren't rallying behind him like, really. And it you don't have to go with Joe Hendry like straight away. You can build to that even more if you want to. Again, like I'm saying, with like putting it on Kaz, because they had a really heated angle there for a while, and then you could go with Josh, who you just made a really heated angle with, like finish that, like, or finish something else, and then give Josh heel turn later or something. I don't know, but still, I don't know. Or you could have done it here or whatever. I don't know. But again, like, the thought is that I don't know. Literally, like, that's where I'm just dumbfounded and just like, what is this? Why is this? I shrug my shoulders and say, who knows? And I get that, this might be to send the crown home happy, but it didn't. I don't think it did, really. I don't think it was this crowning moment that people or whoever was booking this thought it would be. It really wasn't. People still look at him like this ex-WWE jobbing mid-carder. They don't look at him like he's like the next number, world champion, to be in TNA. And yeah, sure, TNA's given him opportunities to prove, he deserves to be there. But I don't see that he's done that. I think Joe Hendry has way more interest and momentum and whatnot behind him. And you might be saying, oh, well, it's a flash in the pan or whatever else. That doesn't matter if it's a flash in the pan. If it's a flash in the pan, it's a good flash in the pan, and you should go with it. Anytime something, and I was saying Joe shouldn't have won it here before this show, but I would have been fine with him winning it here. And I'm fine with him not winning it, but again, just like, what's the point of putting it on Nemeth? That's my, whole thing here, is just like, what does this do for anyone? Like, unless he's going to be a crossover to NXT or something or whatever. But they've done and again, I don't want to complain too much because they could change this in the future. And that's probably why, again, it feels like it's a little bit of a letdown in a lot of ways. It's like, man, TNA gave WWE their hottest act in Joe Hendry. They gave them the Rascals, one of their best, tag teams. Not their best tag team or whatever, but one of their best tag teams. They gave them the Juggernaut, Jordan Grace, who's their, number one women's wrestler. And WWE has set over Tatum Paxley, who was basically an NXT jobber. Whoever the other girl was, who was another NXT jobber. And they sent over Wentz. And then they sent over the NQCC. And that's it. Who are basically an up-and-coming mid-card act. Not exactly the same level of talent or whatever as, the TNA trade-overs. And whatnot. And some people could say, oh, well, they're lucky to get that because these guys are actually seen by more than two people and a dog or whatever on a real network. If TNA was on that network, the same network, we've seen that, TNA stars turning up and doing their thing has gotten, especially Joe Hendry, has gotten record numbers for WWE NXT. So clearly there is not just something in, this crossover, which there obviously is, but there's something in the NXT, the TNA name, and in these TNA wrestlers that, puts a spotlight onto NXT way bigger than what they've had before, which is what TNA is drawing to the party. So, I don't see that to be true. Yes, it is true in some ways, but again, the viewership and the numbers and the retweets and the whatever, all of that stuff suggests way more for what TNA has done. And again, the final numbers of pay-per-view buys and whatnot will have to be counted and seen and whatnot. So we'll have to wait and see what those turn out to be. But yeah, no, I the problem I had with my feed, I guess, was that you know, having to rebuy the show, it's certainly not worth a rebuy. Um, so, but I didn't want to, turn on Twitter or turn on Facebook or turn on anything else and find out the result at the end and be like, like not have seen it myself, like I wanted to see it, so I had to buy it again just to see the result. So that's where I'm at with that at this point. But like, like like I say, I don't want to leave a too sour impression or whatever, because they could change things and they could be going somewhere and they could have a really good plan. And that's what I say to people, you've got to watch to see how it all plays out and see what happens and see what becomes of this and keep our eye on this and whatnot. It's not just, was this the right decision or the wrong decision? I think it probably wasn't the right decision, but if they can pull, their boots up, so to speak, and find something or have something that will work, maybe they've got this angle where Nemeth's going to vacate the belt. And I know that's like, to some people, like, oh man, you've taken the belt off of him straight away or whatever and all of this and whatnot. Like, again, that's not ideal because, again, you've got that whole, problem of like, well, he didn't lose it, type thing. But that's fine still, because it's like, at least then you've got that, context for him to come back. And I guess like that could be the context of him being like, man, this guy won the title, and this guy is deserving of that title because he won it, before or whatever. So that could be like their direction. Like, I don't know, but that, in fans' eyes has to be, realized. You can't just hope for something to work. And Joe Hendry's working. So my thought is to be like, well, how are you getting to Joe Hendry? Like, I don't know, dude. And Joe should have been the one, if any of these people, besides like the fact that Josh decided to turn heel or whatever, to win this thing. Number one. Then Josh for his heel turn. Then, I don't know, Kaz, because he was one of the last people in there. And I thought that would have made sense. You could have given him a short run and then had Hendry beat, Kaz. And I can see, like, you've got, some, again, as I said, something brewing between Alexander and Hendry. But how are you going to finish that off before, you've got to put the title on Hendry? And then what's Nemeth doing with the title? Like, like, but yeah, like, that's my thought. Like, you've got to, strike while the iron's hot and keep that iron hot, or, whatnot, that sort of thing. So I think this in some ways did protect Joe and did keep his heat, but I don't know, dude. It just didn't feel like this is what the way you should have executed this. So I don't know, dude. But yeah, like I say, we'll wait and see. We'll keep our eyes on this. Hopefully, it turns out all right. And that's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, that's where people should be at. They should be at, like, no, we really want Joe Hendry. We don't care about, like, almost anything else. We want Joe Hendry. And, I didn't think it was his time quite yet. I thought Moose was going to 100% retain and whatnot, and set something up for Bound for Glory against him and Joe Hendry. So I'm totally wrong. But, like, it does feel a bit weird and a bit awkward, and that in this circumstance. So I'm very interested to sort of see where all that kind of goes. And we got another match announced for next week with Hammerstone and Ash by Elegance taking on the Juggernaut and Eric Young. So nice little tag match there as well. I'm sure there'll be some fallout with Slammiversary. Now Nemeth versus Ali is the champion. Nemeth versus Ali. Could you rebound and put the title on Ali? That could be interesting. Like, he just was like the X Division champion, and now he's going to be the world champion. I don't know. Like, I don't think that that's good either as well, because again, it feels like hot potatoing the title a little bit. Like, again, like I said, like, you've got to be careful with that. I guess I'm overanalyzing it at this point, because, like, again, you want to wait and see, and sort of like trying to predict things is like, again, like, that's why you shouldn't put bets on wrestling or anything, because you never know what's going to happen, and whatnot. So, but yeah, guys, for the most part, I enjoyed this show. I think most people enjoyed this show who bought it, even though they only had to buy it once. But whatever, I won't get over that, because shenanigans and whatnot, and having to buy something twice, and I'm trying to save money, but that happens. But anyway, yeah, I think overall, like, it's tough to have a plan, I guess, and then want to change plans, but then not fully change those plans or whatever. I don't know what was thought here or whatever, like, or where it's all going. So, but I hope it works out, because again, like, you've got to bring those paying people in. This was a 4K arena, like one of the biggest they've had in 10 years. I think, like, there's only like one or two shows that they've done that are equal or bigger for Slammiversary. I think there's a few like other events that they did that were bigger, but that crowd looked huge. So I guess I want to leave it saying, the crowd looked really good, despite some people saying it should have been better lit or whatever else and all that sort of stuff. I think it was fine the way it was, and I think it looked pretty darn good. And I think that the haters can go shove it up their ass, because, like, there were still people saying there's literally no one there, and no one's watching or whatever, and things like that. So apparently the whole audience is John Cena to all the haters. They can't be seen. So, but no, there was that was a good looking crowd, certainly. So, yeah. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you guys will join me again in another one.